JavaScript for test automation. In this tutorial, I will explain you regarding commonly used JavaScript concepts in test automation. Tutorial may not go into deep in these topics, but will give you an idea on the areas that you need to master. When creating test scripts using JavaScript language, you need to know about following topics: variables, arrays, assignment operators, arithmetic operators, functions, if-else statements, for loops and JavaScript objects. A variable is a location in memory which is used to store a value. You can define variables using the keyword var. In JavaScript, data type is not important when defining variables. A variable might take any data type based on what is assigned to it. For example, you can use the same variable to store a string, number, array or an object. You can use =sign to assign a value to a given variable. Note that the semicolon must be used at the end of each line of JavaScript. Look at the examples given below. As a convention, we will start a variable name with a simple letter. If there are multiple words, each first letter will be kept in uppercase. Take a look at this example. First 4 lines in blue in this script, and the next 4 lines in green are multi-line comments. Other lines in green, which are starting with 2 forward slashes, are single-line comments. Comments are not executed when a script is run. These lines are used to describe the script. In other words, for documentation. In your test scripts, you must add comments to describe what your script is doing. Okay, with that knowledge of comments, we will go through this example. In here, I have defined 2 variables, first name and last name. I have also assigned values to them, Steve and Jobs. Then, I have defined yet another variable called full name. As the value of my variable full name, I have assigned the concatenation of my first name variable and the last name variable with a space in between. The test.long function in the last line is a built-in function of the test automation tool. It prints the given string in the brackets to the console, or the log. In this example, it will print, full name is Steve Jobs. When you need to work with tens or hundreds of values, you will need to define a large number of variables. Instead of that, you can use arrays. Arrays can hold multiple values with an index that we can use to access each of these values. Look at the syntax in the example given here, to get an idea of how an array is defined. In this example, I have defined an array called months that holds 3 values, January, February and March. Then, I have defined a variable called first month and assigned the first value of the array to it. Note that the index of the first value is 0, index of the second value is 1 and so on. When assigning the value to the third variable, third month, I have used the index number that is 1 less than the length of array, which is 2. It gives me the value March. Then I have printed each of these values to the console. Assignment operators are used to assign values to variables, arrays or objects. Out of these JavaScript assignment operators, we will only be using the first one, =sign. Happy? In here I have declared 3 variables with values: a equals 5, b equals 3 and c equals 2. And then, I am assigning the variable c to variable b. Now, the previous value, 3, of the variable b gets replaced by the value of variable c. Now, b is 2, not 3. Got it? Arithmetic operators are used to perform calculations. In this example, I have defined 2 variables, x and y, with values, 5 and 2 respectively. Carefully look at each calculation and their answers. Aha, pause the video if you need more time. If you have several lines of JavaScript codes that are repeating in many places in the scripts, you can use functions. Functions can be used to group a few instructions in a way that it can be reused. Each function starts with keyword function and has a unique naming. Functions can accept parameters and return values too. Look at the example to get an idea of basic notation of a JavaScript function. Here, I want to add my three variables, number 1, number 2, number 3, and assign the sum to another variable, total. Instead of adding values in the same line like before, I am using a function to obtain the required result. The function getSum takes the three variables in, and add them together, and return the result. This result is then stored in my variable, total. When automating tests, assigning values and calculations will not be enough. You need to check conditions. If, then, else statements can be used to execute different codes based on passing or failing of a condition. Look at the three sample codes given here. In this example, I have a variable called color, which holds the value red. In the first if statement, I am checking if the value of the variable color is red. Note the double equal signs here. If color equals to red, then print color is red to the console. This if statement has only one condition associated and take actions only if the condition passes. If you need to take action on both passing and failing a condition, then use if-else statements. In the second if, in case the color is red, I am printing color is red. If it is not red, then I am printing color is not red. Furthermore, you can even check multiple conditions using if-else statements. In my third if, in case the color is red, I am printing color is red. If the color is green, then I am printing color is green. If the color is neither red nor green, I am printing color is neither red nor green. For loops can be used to repeat a few instructions for a given number of times until a given condition is true. Look at the given sample notation to know how a for loop looks like. You define a for loop with the keyword for. Here, I want to print each value of my favorite array, months, but this time, instead of using multiple test.log functions to print them, I am going to do it with a single line of printing. Look at the statements of the for loop, inside the brackets. Each of the three statements are separated by semicolons. First, I defined a variable called m and assign a value to it, 0. Then in the second statement, I am checking whether my variable, m, is less than the length of my months array, that is, less than 3. In the third statement, I am increasing the value of variable m by 1, using increment operator. What actually happens here is, first, we come to the for loop with the value 0, and check whether m is less than 3. If yes, go into the for loop and do what is written inside. For example, prints the value of the array that matches the index to the value of m. After that, it increments the value of m by 1 and again checks for the condition whether the variable m is less than 3. If yes, do what is inside the for loop and so on. Once the condition becomes false, it will stop the for loop and continue to the next line of the script. In JavaScript, everything is an object: strings, numbers, functions, arrays. Object is a variable too. But, unlike a variable, an object can hold multiple values and functions. Values of objects are defined as name-value pairs. We heavily use this concept to group our test framework functions based on the area and relevance, such that anyone can easily access these reusable codes by thinking of the logical relevance to the structure of the application. In this example, I have defined an object called code.sti. I have also defined more detail about the object inside it. These name-value pairs can then be accessed in my test scripts. For example, if I need to obtain the value of CS that belongs to transit in the object code SDI, I can access it as code SDI.transit.cs. This will get me the value 6% 1015. Idea here is the logical grouping and hierarchy of each value provides quicker access to them, rather than remembering and calling a list of large number of separate functions to return each of these values. Hey, this is the most important part of this tutorial. In our test automation framework, we use the concept of objects to group functions together. For example, I have a screen called Endo Monitoring in my application. I put all my functions related to this screen into a single object called Endo Monitoring. This will make it easy for me to call these reusable functions in my scripts. Let's say, I want to open this screen, Endo Monitoring in my script. How am I going to do this? Yes, when I want to open Endo Monitoring screen, now I know that the relevant function must be inside an object called Endo Monitoring. Then, I can call it in my script as Endo Monitoring.open. That's it. Apart from the topics discussed so far, you will also need to have a general knowledge on strings, date, math and regular expressions. You can find many good resources on the web to improve your knowledge of JavaScript.